Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be talking about weird language differences between German and English as an American exchange student in Germany. I am currently going into the city at the moment. We are on the train. Let's go. A lot of these words I had no clue what they meant or what they were even like relating to. It was really confused. It took me a long time to kind of understand them. And some of these words I still don't really understand the exact meaning of them. I know what people like mean when they say it, but I would never use myself because I have no clue in what context I would use it in. I have a different list of quite a few, so let's go ahead and get into them. The first one I have on my list is zack, which is not necessarily really a word, but it's more of like a sound effect that Germans say. And the weird thing is, I've only ever heard German guys say this term. I've never heard a girl say it, so I don't know. It's kind of weird. But zack is like, it means like kind of like a whoosh emotion. So typically when I'm art class, my art teacher will be drawing something on the board to represent like a sphere where we're supposed to like do shading or whatever, and he'll draw this and he'll say zack, zack, zack. And I never understood what it meant, and I thought it was so weird. And then I would hear other people say it when they're trying to like give examples of like how something's moving. They will say zack, and I'm like, what does that mean? So I asked my friends, and they're like, oh, it just means like whoosh. It's just like the weird German way of saying whoosh. So it's spelled like T-S-A-C-K, kind of. I'm not exactly sure how you would spell it because it's like a sound effect. I don't even know if there's an official term for it or spelling for it. This one is pretty common. A lot of people in Germany say this, including me. I sometimes do this too, but it is also. And basically, this word just kind of means so, or like they're starting their sentence, so they're going to start it with also. I don't know, there's really no way to explain it unless if you speak fluent German or if you're kind of like experienced in the German language. Also is just one of those words that it's kind of depends on the mood and the context of the situation or like the context of like the conversation as well, because it can have like a bunch of different meanings, like the way you say it. Like you can say like also, and then you can say like also. Like there's just two different meanings between those two words. And it's like it's the same word, but it's got two different meanings depending on how you say it. Pretty similar to also. The next one I have is very famous in Germany, and I never understood it for the life of me for the past like 6 months. Is ach so. Basically, it's like when Germans are surprised at something. Ja, du musst links gehen, nicht rechts, das ist die falsche Weg. Ach so, ich muss links gehen. Ah, ach so. Like used as a term of being like, oh, okay. It kind of just means that, but in a single word. So, ach so. But it can also have other meanings too, and it's really confusing to kind of differentiate the meanings of the singular word, ach so. It can be also really funny if you're in a room full of Germans and all you hear is, ach so, ach so, ach so. So it's really funny because there's just so many ways you can say it, and it can have so many different meanings. It can be an exclamation of surprise. It can be like a confused asshole, like really, and it can also just mean like what asshole. So it depends on the way people say it. So we kind of have to differentiate what they mean by how they're saying it, which can be kind of hard sometimes. I would actually not be surprised at all if I heard Germans having a conversation entirely using the word "so" and no other words, just "so, so, 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 so." Like there's just so many ways you can say it, and I can't really express that enough, and that's why it's so confusing sometimes as an American who does not speak German. It is so crazy because people will say this literally in every single sentence. It's really funny. The next word on my list is stimmt, which basically just translates into the word right in English. And they will say this to like everything. If you're talking with them with a German and you're having a conversation and I would just be talking about what I did that day, they'll be like, stimmt, stimmt, stimmt. It's almost like, in English you would say, oh, right, yeah, right, okay. It's the same thing. It's stimmt. So I found myself becoming addicted to this word actually, and I will say stimmt even when I'm not supposed to say it in certain contexts. Another one that is kind of similar to so and also is oha. And I actually really don't know the meaning of what this word means exactly. I don't know exactly in what context you would use it. I just know it's kind of like a the declaration of surprise almost. And typically I only hear girls say this, so I'm not sure if that's supposed to be that way or if that's just like I've just heard only girls saying it. But typically they'll have a conversation and they'll just be like, "Oh, ha!" And it's really funny because I have no clue exactly what it means. So if somebody wants to explain it to me, please do. Yeah. So oha is kind of similar to aso and azul because it can be used in like different contexts, like depending on how you say it. You can say oha or the oha. Like it's just kind of strange, and I don't really know exactly how you should use the word though, so don't ask me. The same thing in English actually, they just pronounce it a bit differently, is okay. In English, like especially in American English, we'd say okay. Like you pronounce it very strongly, but in German, it's kind of just like not pronounced as strongly. It's just okay. So I've kind of found a lot of Germans when they're talking to be like okay, okay, and it's almost like you spell it with an e instead of an a in okay. So it's kind of been strange to hear that because I'm really used to hearing the English American version of that, and then I'm suddenly hearing like the German version, and just everybody was saying okay, okay, okay. And it's kind of funny to me. But I think a lot of other countries actually pronounce it that way too. And I think maybe just America is the only one with okay. Another thing that I found, which is really funny, and my host family and a lot of my friends actually say this a lot, is heh, which is basically just the German way of saying I'm confused without saying it. It's just like a sound effect. And heh is like, I guess you could spell it like H-E-H or H-A-H. And yeah, basically, I will be talking to somebody and I'll say something really fast in German and they won't understand it because I have a pretty bad American accent and they'll be like, heh? And but the funny thing is that Germans typically really pronounce this very strongly, very loudly too. They're like, heh? Heh? And it's very funny because they'll repeat it multiple times because they don't understand. They'll go, heh? 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 And it's really funny to watch them because they will just keep saying heh over and over again. And it's something I actually found myself doing. Typically, when I call my family in America, my sister will say something and I don't understand what she says, and I'll be like, heh? And then she laughs at me and she's like, Lizzie, you're doing that weird German thing again. But I can't help it because it's a very common thing to do in Germany, apparently. Another thing that this is kind of a universal language thing is having like weird sayings in English, and especially in American English, we have a lot of really weird sayings, but specifically in German, there are some that just really don't make sense to me, especially because I don't speak the language and I'm not a native. And if you're a native, then you kind of understand like the sayings and things. People have tried to explain the sayings to me. It just goes right over my head. I don't understand it at all. And they always think it's very funny, and I'm just kind of sitting there looking at them, trying to understand what the joke means, or what the saying means. So I'm going to list some of my favorite confusing sayings in German. Ich verstehe nur Bahnhof. Ich verstehe nur Bahnhof directly translates to I only understand train station in English, which makes no sense. But it just means that I am like you're absolutely lost or so confused, German style. That's kind of it for the list. This will probably grow as I learn more German and I'm able to understand more German. But yeah, thanks for watching and see you next time.